Have you ever felt this nagging sense that you're capable of achieving so much more than what you're currently experiencing?
Oh, absolutely. Like there's this hidden potential just, waiting.
Exactly. Like a reservoir inside.
That's the very question we're diving headfirst into today, using the fascinating material you've shared.
Right. We're exploring this idea of becoming supernatural.
Yeah, and not in a comic book way.
No capes, no flying.
Right, but how everyday individuals are achieving what seem like, well, truly uncommon feats.
And our main guide for this journey is from excerpts of Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural: How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon.
It's a real treasure trove of ideas, that book.
It really is.
And Dr. Dispenza, he's quite a remarkable figure, isn't he?
He is a doctor, a scientist.
Yeah, and someone who has this unique way of kind of bridging the gap between science and, well, what some might call the mystical.
He synthesizes information from just an incredibly wide range of fields.
Totally. From genetics, brain science, heart biology.
All the way to quantum physics.
Exactly. And the core question driving his work and, our deep dive today is really this.
How do we unlock that extraordinary potential, the stuff that's already inside us?
Yeah. How do we access it in our sort of day-to-day lives?
It's interesting. The book got praise from people like Cheryl Richardson, Judith Orloff.
Mm-hmm. They pointed out how thought-provoking it is.
Mm-hmm.
Captivating.
And how it delves into this infinite quantum field of consciousness.
Which is this realm of possibility, beyond our usual senses, beyond space and time.
So for everyone listening, maybe you know this stuff well. Maybe you're just curious.
Or you just want to get the key ideas quickly without getting bogged down.
Yeah, without information overload. This deep dive is for you. We're aiming to pull out the most compelling, the most intriguing bits from this material.
Sounds good.
Okay, so where do we start? I think that story, The Cave of Milarepa, is really captivating.
Oh, that's a fantastic place to begin. Dr. Dispenza actually kicks off his book talking about his own experience connected to Milarepa.
The 11th century Tibetan yogi.
That's the one. And this specific cave on the Tibetan plateau, it's linked to some really extraordinary claims.
Right. Milarepa wasn't just a teacher. He apparently showed abilities that just seemed to defy physics as we know it.
Like the story of him pushing his hand into solid rock.
Exactly. Leaving clear handprints as if the stone was just, like, soft clay. It's mind-boggling.
And the striking thing is, Dr. Dispenza actually went there. He visited the cave himself.
When was that?
Back in 1998, during a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And he described seeing these hand impressions firsthand.
So they're really there, physical evidence.
Apparently so. And it's something modern science still struggles to explain. It's not just legend.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dr. Dispenza uses this mystery to connect to the book's main theme.
Really?
Right.
Precisely. He suggests that maybe the limits we feel in our lives
aren't actually imposed from the outside.
Exactly. But more by the boundaries of our own beliefs about what's actually possible.
So those handprints are like a metaphor, a powerful one.
They really are. And connecting this to the bigger picture, the book's aim is to show us we're more than just
these linear beings living linear lives.
Right. More than just point A to point B.
Yeah.
He suggests we're actually dimensional beings living dimensional lives.
Dimensional beings. Okay, that definitely broadens the perspective.
It does, doesn't it?
So it's not just about, thinking positive thoughts. It seems much more fundamental.
Much more. The book makes this compelling case that the actual anatomy, the chemistry, the physiology needed for these supernatural abilities.
It's already inside us, latent.
Exactly. Like dormant programs just waiting to be activated. We just need the right conditions, the right understanding.
Okay, so how do we, flip that switch? How do we activate this potential?
Well, the book dives into the crucial role of energy and information, and specifically light.
Light as in actual light.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea is the more light our bodies emit, the more energy we have, the more vibrant our life force is.
And less light means more matter, less energy.
Kind of like a dimmer switch for life itself, yeah. More dense, less vital.
And this isn't just philosophical talk, is it? There's actual science behind cells communicating beyond just chemicals.
That's right. A growing body of research points to this field of coherent energy, basically. Light carrying information between cells.
Like an internal communication network.
Exactly. An energetic one working alongside the chemical signals we already know about. It's coordinating things.
And Dr. Dispenza, he measures this in his workshops.
He does. They use tools to measure the vital energy students emit during meditation.
And they see changes.
Significant shifts, yeah. sometimes in as little as 4 days.
4 days! That's incredibly fast.
It really highlights the potential for pretty quick transformation when we intentionally shift our internal state.
Which brings us to these internal states and the energy centers in the body.
Right, the ones controlled by the autonomic nervous system, the part that runs mostly on autopilot.
And each center has its own frequency, its own sort of mini consciousness.
That's the idea. Each has its own frequency, its own intention, glands, hormones, even like a mini brain associated with it.
And they're meant to work together harmoniously.
Ideally, yes. When we're balanced, they integrate.
But to influence them, we need to access that subconscious system, and that means brain waves.
Exactly. That's the key question.
Yeah.
How do we consciously get access? Dr. Dispenza says it's about shifting our dominant brainwave state.
Moving from beta waves,
Right.
that's our normal analytical outward-focused mind.
Right, the busy thinking mind. Shifting from that to alpha waves.
Alpha is calmer, more internal focus.
Yes, more introspective, like shifting gears mentally, quieting the chatter.
And by doing that, we gain more influence over those energy centers, over the autonomic system.
That's the premise. And meditation becomes a crucial tool for this.
Makes sense.
The book details how students, through meditation, learn to consciously change their brainwaves, cultivate that focus.
And produce measurable effects on those centers.
Yes, measurable. And again, not just feelings, but stuff they track with instruments. Real physiological changes.
And the impact goes beyond just energy or mental state, right? The book talks about biological changes just from thought. This is where it gets really compelling.
It's pretty remarkable. The evidence from his research shows significant changes in students' gene expression.
Gene expression, like turning genes on or off.
Essentially, yes. Changes in neurotransmitters, hormones, genes, proteins, enzymes, all triggered by focused thought and intention.
And this links to reported health improvements.
It does. People report feeling better, and they can see these biological markers changing.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful. It means our thoughts aren't just thoughts. They directly impact our biology.
Right down to the molecular level. And the book stresses that seeing these measurable results...
It reinforces your belief, makes you think, wow, I can actually do this.
Exactly. It fuels the effort. It solidifies the understanding that you can influence your own biology.
So what tools does the book offer to help with this? I remember something about a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, it seems a bit unusual, doesn't it?
A little. How does that work?
Well, the way it's used, often with eyes open, the visual complexity, the shifting patterns, it helps quiet the analytical mind.
Ah, okay. Gives the thinking brain something to focus on, but not too taxing.
Kind of. It creates a more receptive state between the conscious and subconscious. Allows deeper stuff to happen.
And then there are mind movies. That sounds more active.
It is. Think of it like creating your own mental movie trailer for the future you want.
Visualizing scenes, images of that desired life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by regularly watching these internal scenes, you're essentially programming your subconscious with that blueprint.
And the book says some people have seen things from their mind. Movies actually happen.
It shares anecdotes, yeah. People visualizing specific scenarios and then experiencing them in reality.
That really highlights combining clear intention with vivid emotional imagery.
Definitely. Now, another key player in all this seems to be the pineal gland.
That tiny gland deep in the brain, often talked about in more mystical traditions.
Right, but Dr. Dispenza looks at it scientifically too. He describes it as a kind of biological antenna.
An antenna? For what?
For transducing frequencies and information into vivid imagery, almost like an internal projector.
So activating it could mean having sensory experiences, seeing things, feeling things without using our outer senses.
That's the core idea. And these internal events, when the pineal is activated, can feel incredibly real, sometimes more real than external experiences.
Wow. And the book mentions melatonin being involved.
Yeah, it suggests that during activation, melatonin gets transmuted into more potent metabolites.
So the sleep hormone gets upgraded, essentially.
Into something carrying a much richer bandwidth of information, yeah.
Okay, but to understand how we get stuck, how we prevent this activation, we need to look at emotions and memory, right?
Yes, the chemistry of it all. The book explains emotions as the chemical end products of past experiences.
Our brain releases chemicals when neurons fire together in response to an event.
Exactly. And these emotions leave an imprint. The stronger the emotion.
The stronger the chemical change, the stronger the memory.
Precisely. And that's where the loop can start. The book gives that example of someone replaying a negative event.
Over and over in their mind.
Yeah. And each time, They're unknowingly re-triggering the same negative chemistry, basically anchoring their brain and body to the past.
So the past keeps dictating their present biology. Ouch.
It can be a powerful cycle, but the potential to break free is huge.
Yeah.
Anna's story is incredible here.
Oh, yeah, Anna's journey. It was really challenging, wasn't it?
Devastating. Losing her husband, financial crisis, paralysis setting in, ulcers, deep depression.
And conventional medicine wasn't really helping.
She was described as an emotional, mental, and physical wreck, despite treatment.
But during her meditation practice, she made a conscious choice.
A really powerful one. Not just to feel better, but to fundamentally change. She decided she wouldn't get up as the same person.
What was her aim?
To genuinely be in love with life. Even though her external circumstances gave her zero reason to feel that way, that intention was key.
And she learned about epigenetics, how thoughts and emotions affect genes.
Yes, she grasped that elevated emotions, love, gratitude, could signal new genes for health, send different instructions to her body.
Counteract the stress chemicals.
Exactly. And then came that pivotal moment at a workshop in May 2012.
What happened?
During a deep meditation, she felt this profound surrender, like she was floating in this infinite, dark, peaceful space, pure consciousness.
Beyond her body, beyond her problems.
Totally. Just awareness. Her physical conditions seemed almost irrelevant in that state.
And then after a lecture specifically on epigenetics,
She had this breakthrough with her mouth issues, the lack of saliva.
she consciously applied what she learned.
Yes, she focused, sent the signal to the gene for saliva production, and it worked. Her mouth function returned to normal. Ulcers gone.
That's an amazing testament to the mind-body connection.
It really is. Profound self-healing potential.
Now, Dr. Dispenza shares some of his own unusual experiences too, doesn't he? Especially around time.
He does. He talks about consciously training himself to let his body sleep while keeping his mind awake.
Which led to some deep transcendental experiences.
Very deep. He describes one particularly vivid vision involving an old pocket watch.
And that gave him an insight about time itself.
A sudden, deep understanding that our usual linear view, past, present, future, isn't how the universe really works,
How did he perceive it then?
as everything happening simultaneously. In an eternal present moment full of infinite possibilities, multiple dimensions existing at once.
Whoa. And he had experiences that seemed to confirm this, like seeing the future.
He describes perceiving a future moment and then later experiencing that exact moment unfolding, as if time wasn't just a straight line.
These experiences of time dilation, nonlinearity, they fueled his research.
Absolutely. Deeply intrigued him.
Yeah.
He also mentions another meditation where he felt like he lived a past incarnation with intense physical feelings and emotions.
These accounts really challenge our everyday view of reality, don't they?
They certainly push the boundaries of ordinary awareness.
Okay, shifting back a bit, the book talks about the habitual self, how we get stuck in patterns and how to break free.
Right, it revisits that cycle.
Yeah.
Repetitive thoughts trigger chemical reactions, creating feelings.
Which then reinforce the same thoughts. The loop we mentioned.
Exactly. And these loops become habits, putting the body on autopilot.
So we end up living a predictable future based on our familiar past, thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices.
Experiencing the same outcomes and emotions.
Yeah.
Very easy to fall into that rut.
But the good news is our brains can change. Neuroplasticity, the Harvard piano study is a great example.
It really is. People just mentally practicing piano exercises.
Without actually moving their fingers.
Right. They still developed new neural circuits, similar to those who physically practiced. It shows the power of mental rehearsal.
And it's not just the brain, right? Muscle studies too.
Yeah, studies showing mental rehearsal of physical activities can lead to actual physical improvements in the body, as if they've been doing it physically.
It underscores that deep mind-body connection again, how thought can shape physicality.
Absolutely, which brings us back to epigenetics, but this time focusing on elevated emotions.
The workshop study where people focused on love, joy, gratitude.
Yes, and the results were remarkable after just 4 days.
They saw an increase in IgA levels, the immune marker.
An average increase of nearly 50%. That's a significant epigenetic change, gene expression, altering purely from shifting their internal emotional state.
So no change in diet or exercise, just the inner work.
Exactly. It powerfully suggests we can influence our health profoundly from within.
By maintaining elevated emotions, we upregulate good genes, downregulate stress genes.
That's the idea. tapping into the body's innate ability to heal and regulate when we create the right internal conditions.
But the book also warns about pitfalls, like being too focused on the outer world.
Definitely. When all our attention and energy is directed outwards on objects, people, problems,
There's nothing left for inner work, for transformation.
pretty much. We limit our ability to create anything new if we're constantly consumed by the external.
And our personality can become just a reflection of our external reality, trapped in a loop.
Yeah, biologically and neurologically matched to our familiar world, so it ends up controlling our thoughts and feelings.
And then there's the idea of addiction to negative emotions, like stress hormones.
It makes sense, doesn't it? The body can get chemically accustomed to that state of alert, even though it's harmful long-term.
Operating in survival mode, constantly scanning for threats,
Yeah.
it makes the brain incoherent.
Too organized firing, yeah. Less effective, drains energy. Plus, the book talks about energetic bonds.
To people, things in our familiar reality, even if they're problematic.
Exactly. These unconscious ties can drain the energy we need for change. The book even mentions someone getting fired after starting meditation.
Because their old life circumstances started falling away as their vibration changed.
That's the implication. Disconnecting from the outer focus can lead to real shifts in external life. Maybe uncomfortable ones initially.
So to disconnect and change, we need to manage brain waves and call our energy back.
Right. And understanding beta waves better helps. Low beta is relaxed alertness, but high beta is stress, anxiety, survival mode. Big
Okay.
difference.
And they use that GDV machine in workshops, gas discharge visualization,
Yes, to measure the electromagnetic field around people.
and track how the energy in the room changes during meditation.
Initially, it might dip as people break those energetic bonds and pull energy inwards.
But then, as individual fields strengthen,
The collective energy rises significantly. Coherence builds.
the book also gives a technique for bringing attention back to the present, right? When the mind wanders to past or future.
A really practical one. Catching yourself, gently returning to the now. It helps unfire and unwire those old neural pathways. Disinvest energy from the past.
Okay, let's shift focus now, beyond the immediate into the quantum field.
Ah, yes, the realm of infinite possibilities.
Described as this infinite field of frequency, energy, carrying information, existing beyond the physical world we see.
That's the essence. It's the fundamental state where all possibilities exist simultaneously before anything becomes concrete.
So in this field, our potential is truly unlimited.
Unconstrained by current reality. And when we access it, we exist as pure awareness, consciousness itself.
No bodies, no identities, no things, no places, no time.
Just that infinite expanse of potential energy and information. Thinking about our known life pulls us back to 3D reality.
Well, staying in the unknown prepares us to create unknowns.
Exactly. So returning to the present moment is key. Stopping thoughts about the predictable future or familiar past.
And unfolding into that eternal space as awareness.
Right. Accessing that fundamental realm.
And in this quantum realm, mind and matter have a different relationship.
Very different. Science tells us matter is mostly energy and information anyway, right? Very little actual stuff.
And subatomic particles, like electrons, exist in all possibilities until observed.
That's the unpredictable nature of quantum mechanics. They're waves of potential.
Until observation collapses the wave function.
Exactly. The act of observation, by consciousness, turns potential energy into a particle, into reality as we know it.
It shows that deep link between mind and matter. Maybe even hints at a universal consciousness observing everything.
It certainly opens up those profound questions.
So, if we want to consciously create a new reality using this field, what's required?
Two key things, according to the book. Clear intention and elevated emotion.
Intention is the what? The
Wow.
specific, detailed thoughts about what we want.
Yes, the blueprint. And elevated motion is the how, the energy, a frequency higher than survival emotions like fear or anger.
So intention sends the signal, the electrical charge.
And the elevated emotion carries it, provides the magnetic draw, the higher frequency that influences energy and matter more effectively.
The book uses the example of Dr. Dispenza's son, Jace, manifesting a job,
Right. He combines specific intentions about the job with feelings of empowerment and gratitude.
aligning his energy with that outcome.
Exactly. And the book really stresses living in that future reality now, mentally rehearsing it, feeling the elevated emotions associated with it.
Priming the brain and body for that future.
Precisely.
And there's a specific tuning in meditation for this.
Yes, a guided process to connect with potential in the quantum field.
First step, identify a potential health, job, whatever, and remember, it already exists as energy.
Yes, as a frequency in the quantum field. Then get specific. Write down the details.
And importantly, identify the emotions you'd feel when it happens.
Crucial, especially gratitude.
Why gratitude specifically?
Because gratitude signals that the future has already happened. Your body, the unconscious mind, starts believing it's real.
So the meditation guides you to sense the energy of that future, tune your own vibration to match it.
And shift your state of being, broadcasting that new electromagnetic signature.
Exactly. The idea is when there's a vibrational match, the event or experience is drawn to you. Alignment, not force.
And it might take time, consistent practice, patience is key.
Right. And the later steps involve remembering the future, rehearsing with emotion, surrendering the how, and blessing your body and life.
All important parts of the process.
Okay, let's bring it back to biology again. Cellular communication and biophotons.
Right. Dr. Fritz Albert Popp's research. Cells communicating via light biophotons.
A light-based internet within the body.
Kind of. And the coherence of this light indicates cell health. Healthy cells emit organized, coherent light,
Facilitating communication. Unhealthy cells emit less coherent light.
hindering communication and function. It supports the view that electromagnetic energy governs molecules in cells.
So focusing only on the physical, we miss these subtle energy signals.
We become less attuned. By quieting the external noise, meditating, we can retrain ourselves to sense these frequencies.
Receive information, promote internal order syntropy.
That's the idea. Enhance coherence within the body.
The book also revisits the energy centers, talking about stuck emotional energy, especially in the lower three survival-based centers.
Yes, often linked to unresolved past emotions. Stuck energy in the first center might relate to sexuality, safety issues.
Second center, guilt, fear, shame. Third, anger, power, control.
Common associations, yeah. And the blessing of the energy center's meditation is designed to help move and evolve this energy.
Create more flow and balance.
Exactly.
Now, the analogy of the body as a magnet?
Right. Just like a magnet's polarity creates a field, our body's bioelectricity creates its own field. More coherence means a stronger field.
And the central nervous system is the wiring, with cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, enhancing electrical charges.
Yes, CSF nourishes, cushions, and boosts those charges. It normally circulates slowly, though.
But the book says specific muscle contractions,
In the perineum and lower abdomen, can consciously move CSF upwards faster.
potentially awakening dormant energy, the sleeping dragon.
That's the evocative language used, yes.
Yeah.
This internal activation turns on the sympathetic nervous system from within.
Leading to a merging of sympathetic and parasympathetic systems.
An integration, yeah, which allows energy from lower centers to move up into the brain, like an internal surge.
And this energy moves through specific brain pathways. Thalamic gate, brainstem, thalamus,
Up to the neocortex, triggering those high-frequency gamma brainwaves.
associated with heightened awareness, insight.
Exactly. And when energy reaches the pineal gland, it can release substances that quiet the analytical mind.
And that 2017 study showed participants changed gene expression related to neurogenesis, cell repair, reducing stress, just by changing internal states.
Again, powerful scientific backup for the impact of these internal practices on biology.
For someone wanting to start, the book suggests listening to inspiring music while practicing a specific breath technique.
Yeah, from the reconditioning the body meditation, then opening focus to the body and space around it.
And unfolding as pure consciousness into the unified field, becoming no body, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time.
That's the starting point offered.
The book then shares more case studies of uncommon healing to illustrate the potential.
Right. Ginny's chronic back pain relief after failed treatments. Daniel's electromagnetic sensitivity healing, even in high EMF environments.
Jennifer's severe arthritis and inflammation improving, regaining hand use.
And Felicia, the doctor with severe eczema, having that powerful mystical experience during meditation.
And then her eczema clearing after focusing her mind movie on healthy skin, with high gamma waves measured in her brain scans.
These stories really drive home the transformative possibilities.
The book also talks more about brain states and perception, how our senses connect us to external reality.
And external experiences create neural networks and emotions. But internal experiences in meditation can be just as real, even more so, in changing brain and body.
Making the future feel like it's already happened internally.
Yes, and then practicing mindfulness, embodying that future self throughout the day.
Even during mundane tasks, helps reprogram the autonomic nervous system for that new destiny.
That's the integration part. The book gives more mind-movie examples, too.
Like Tim using symbols for wealth, evolving to affluence to bypass his analytical mind.
Right. And Sarah, with a severe back injury, attending the workshop despite advice to use a wheelchair.
And regaining the ability to touch the ground after a powerful meditation.
Incredible stories.
Then there's the distinction between space-time and time-space.
Crucial concept. Space-time is our usual 3D reality Newtonian, sensory-based, separation in space and time, based on knowns.
And time-space.
That's the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Non-physical unknowns, infinite possibilities, infinite time, energy, no separation, oneness.
So living in survival mode keeps us stuck in space-time, trying to affect matter with matter.
Across that separation, to enter time-space, the unified field, we need to become no body, no one, etc. Focus awareness on the field itself.
Moving towards oneness should feel like love, unity, wholeness, changing our perception.
Ideally, yes. The book offers a short meditation for experiencing this shift, heart coherence, elevating energy, unfolding into the field,
And connecting to these deeper levels activates the brain with more energy and information.
leading to those profound inner events that feel more real than outer ones.
It mentions the ventricular system and how accelerated CSF can overstimulate the pineal gland.
Right, that stimulation plus pressure causes the release of those upgraded melatonin metabolites, triggering transcendental experiences.
Contrasting beta waves, survival, with gamma waves, bliss, insight, where energy is liberated and created internally.
Exactly. And studies show increased oxytocin after workshops, calming survival centers, fostering love for life.
So these activated pineal metabolites fit into serotonin-melatonin receptors, but carry messages from beyond sensory reality.
Priming the brain for mystical experiences, shifting perception to time-space, feeling less like matter, more like energy.
It really emphasizes the power of internal experience. If the environment signals genes and experiences create emotions.
So no change externally often means no change internally. But the body doesn't know the difference between emotions generated from outside versus inside.
So higher energy equals higher consciousness, broader awareness, richer reality.
Yes. Internal experiences rewire the brain, allowing us to perceive more of the reality that was always there.
The book provides another meditation just for experiencing the unified field without sensory input.
A simple one. Sit still, close eyes, breathe naturally, become aware of space around and within, feel gratitude, intend to connect, release expectations. Rest is awareness.
And there's that interesting connection mentioned between the limbic brain and the Eye of Horus symbol.
And it's linked to the Fibonacci sequence, the golden spiral sound in nature, hints of underlying order.
For daily practice, it suggests a morning routine. Sit, intend, use the breath technique, holding, squeezing, to activate the pineal and create a field.
Then lie down to let the autonomic nervous system balance things out. Slow, steady breath with muscle contraction. Yes, a practical application.
Moving to the collective level, the book mentions the Global Consciousness Project data from 9/11.
Showing changes in random event generators correlating with the global emotional response, suggesting connection to Earth's magnetic field.
Exactly. And studies suggesting group meditations can have non-local effects on peace and coherence.
Which raises questions about forces working against coherence.
It also discusses solar activity's influence. Sunspots, solar flares releasing energy.
And Krzyzewski's research linking solar activity peaks to human excitability wars, revolutions, but also flourishing.
Noting the time of writing was an active solar cycle, and this solar energy can amplify our existing state, whether coherent or incoherent.
Like turning up the volume on whatever frequency we're broadcasting.
This leads to emergence and global coherence. HeartMath finding coherent heart rhythms radiate detectable signals.
And the Global Coherence Initiative, believing human states are influenced by geomagnetic activity and the Earth's field carries information.
Exploring if a global community intentionally raising energy towards peace could affect the Earth's field.
Like emergence individuals acting in unison, creating a larger effect. Understanding interconnectedness means realizing harming others harms ourselves.
Achieving heart-brain coherence through elevated emotions synchronizes heart and brain.
And since the heart sends more info to the brain, heart coherence is powerful. producing measurable effects in our field, affecting others non-locally, seen in HRV.
Dr. Dispenza's partnership with HeartMath gathered data showing amazing measurements when ordinary people do the uncommon.
Consistent daily energy increases in workshop rooms, measured by the Sputnik sensor, explained by constructive interference, coherent fields combining into a bigger wave.
Which led to Project Coherence exploring if enhanced energy fields could affect others non-locally.
Exactly. Which brings us to those anecdotes.
Right. Stacy's earache resolving, then the light experience improving hearing and peace.
Janet hearing, "You are mine," surrendering, the blue light download, depression vanishing.
Donna's experience being a bridge for spirits who died suddenly, a very lucid inner event.
And Jerry's pancreatitis healing, attributing it to consciously raising his energy and belief.
Powerful examples of these potential non-local effects.
They really are.
Finally, the afterword summarizes it as being peace, starting the day with elevated states, maintaining them.
Love, joy, gratitude, kindness, demonstrating peace, even when challenge breaks old cycles, gives others permission too.
Acknowledging it feels unnatural at first, going against conditioning, but that's how we become supernatural.
Living in the unknown, the realm of possibility, investing time inward to become creators, not victims.
Emphasizing we now have the how quantum physics, neuroscience, epigenetics, understanding subjective mind influences objective world.
Our power to direct energy with intention for non-local effects. And concluding that finding peace within and demonstrating it is essential for standing up for justice and peace globally.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core takeaway really is, well, it's about potential, isn't it?
Huge, untapped potential for greatness, for abilities we might not even imagine right now.
And this exploration showed how shifting awareness, energy, beliefs, it can lead to truly extraordinary experiences and transformations.
We really hope listeners take some time to reflect on these concepts, see how they might apply them in their own lives.
Maybe explore Dr. Dispenza's work further, or related fields if this sparked something.
Because ultimately, what this suggests is the player of consciousness is just immense, far more than we usually realize.
And that potential inside each of us,
Yeah.
it's just waiting to be awakened.